All right, let's practice taking decimals and turning them into percents. Remember that the word percent means per 100 or out of 100. So really, I need to think about 0.8 as being hundredths. Well, hundredths are 2 decimal places, so I'm going to move the decimal point 2 places to the right, which means that 0.8 is equivalent to 80%. For the second example, 2.96, again, I need to take the decimal point and move it 2 places to the right, so this one becomes 296%. And then finally, on my third example, 4.354, I will again move the decimal 2 places to the right, so this represents 435 4/10%. Now you try problems 1, 2, and 3. All right, we're going to take our percents and turn them into fractions. Remember that the word percent means per 100 or out of 100. So 34% is the same as 34 out of 100. But I always need to reduce my fractions. I notice that 4 and 0 are even numbers, so I know I can divide both the top and the bottom by 2. This becomes 17 over 50. 17 is a prime number. That means it'll only divide by itself in 1, and 50 won't divide by 17 without a remainder. So I have found the reduced fraction, which is the equivalent to 34%. Let's convert 135% to a fraction. Remember that percent means out of 100, so right now I have 135 out of 100. Remember that things that end in 5 and 0 will both divide by 5. So right now, let's see, 100 divided by 5, that's easy, that's 20. 135 divided by 5, I can't do that one as easily in my head. So let's come up here and do the division problem. 5 goes into 13 twice, which is 10, leaving 3. Bring down the 5, so now 5 goes into 35 7 times, which is 35, which means there's no remainder, which means right now I have the fraction 27 over 20. Now, 27 would divide by 3, by 9, and by 27. 20 doesn't divide by any of those. So as an improper fraction, I have reduced this as much as I can. But notice that the numerator is greater than 1. That means I need to find out how many times 20 can go into 27, which is once, with a remainder of 7. So this is really 1 and 7 over 20 as the reduced equivalent fraction for 135%. Finally, let's look at 8%. Again, percent means per 100 or out of 100. So right now I have 8 over 100. 8 and 100 are both even numbers. So I know that they'll both divide by 2. This becomes the fraction 4 over, 50. Now, 4 and 50 are also both even numbers, so I can reduce this a second time by dividing again by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 50 divided by 2 is 25. Some of you probably noticed that 8 and 100 both divided originally by 4. If I had divided 8 by 4, I would have gotten the 2, and 100 divided by 4 to get the 25. It doesn't matter whether you need to do the division twice or just once, as long as you divide as much as possible to get to your most reduced fraction. All right, let's convert from a percent to a decimal. Now, percent means out of 100. There are 2 decimal places in 100. We need to move the decimal point 2 places to the left and remove the percent sign. So for 0.2%, this will become 0.002, and again, we remove the percent sign. For 10.5%, I move the decimal point 2 places to the left, so this one will become 0.105, and again, I remove the percent sign. In 37%, there is no visible decimal point. Remember that when there is not a decimal point, it's all the way at the end. It's implied. It's invisible. I still need to move it 2 places to the left, and 37% will become 0.37. And you're done. For the sentence, 12 is what percent of 4? The number 12 remains a 12. The word is represents the equal sign. What percent is your unknown? Let's use the letter N for our unknown. Of means to multiply by 4. Well, to solve for this variable, we have to undo the multiplication. To undo multiplication, we divide both sides by 4. So 3 right now represents some unknown percent. But that 3 is currently written as a decimal number. Do you remember what you have to do to turn a decimal number into a percent? You move the decimal point 2 places to the right, so 300% is our missing value from our sentence. "12 is 60% of what number?" 12 remains a 12, is represents the equal sign. 60% has to be converted to a decimal. Remember, I'm going to move my decimal point 2 places to the left, so that's 0.6 or 0.60. Of means multiply. What number is our unknown? I'm going to use N for my unknown. Now, to undo multiplication, again, I need to divide. I'm going to divide both sides by 0.6. 12 divided by 6/10. Remember, my rule is I have to move this decimal over and this decimal over, so I'm really finding out how many times 6 can go into the number 120. 6 goes into 12 twice, leaving nothing. Bring down the 0. 6 goes into 0 times, so the unknown number is 20. What is 10% of 34? What is my unknown? I'll use the letter N. Is means equals. 10% has to be turned into a decimal. Move it 2 places to the left. So that's 0.1. Of means to multiply. 34. So this is a straightforward multiplication problem. Let's move the 0.1 underneath. 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 3 is 3. There's 1 decimal place in my problem. I need 1 decimal place in my answer. So apparently my unknown value is 3.4. Be very careful which type of problem you're doing on 10 through 15.